Welcome to Chok Muay Chats episode 41. We are having another online episode tonight. I have a very, very special guest from a little bit of a different part of the world that we know in Muay Thai, actually coming from Western boxing. But this man here has spent a long time in the game of the sweet science, and especially here in Southeast Asia. So he's actually going to tell us a little bit about how the industry works here in Southeast Asia and also comparing it to how it works in comparison to Muay Thai. So, my friend, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Wasim Mather. I'm originally from South Africa, but I've been living in Bangkok for the past 12 years. I'm in the boxing industry. I have many roles. I'm a boxing trainer, matchmaker, and as well as a writer journalist.
Now, you obviously, like most of us, we all started off as fighters. Can you talk a little bit about your fighting journey?
Yeah, so I started fighting when I started training when I was around 16 years old. I found a boxing gym across the road from my house. But I come from like a boxing family. My dad boxed as an amateur. Like most fighters, it's with their dads. My dad boxed as an amateur. I had family members involved in boxing as promoters and as well as referees. I never competed when I was younger, but I never wanted to be like a fighter. I wanted to try, but I competed in Western boxing as a professional. I've had 12 fights. Realized it wasn't for me. I've done like 8 wins and 4 losses with one draw. So it's like 13 fights and fought for a WBA Asia title and realized that 12 rounds is not fun. And there's easier ways into the sport than being a fighter. As you know, it's a tough journey being a professional boxer.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a lot different to the world of Muay Thai in a sense. I mean, more rounds, and very, very interesting career paths in the way that you have to drive fighters in that way. So, obviously, you're a ringside reporter. Can you tell us a little bit how you got into that?
So for me, basically things changed post-COVID. So
Mm.
just before COVID, I was here in Thailand and I think it was like I hurt my back and I went home to rest a bit. And when I came back to Thailand, I wanted to give boxing one last like go as a professional. So I did like 3 or 4 fights in like 4 months, not very tough fights, but I got an opportunity to fight. There was an opportunity to fight for a WBC Asia title against Chinoy Warrawoods. He's still currently an
Mm.
active fighter. He fought Sam Goodman out of Australia for a eliminator last year. And I had like 3 or 4 wins in a row, and I had an opportunity to fight him. And then COVID came and it changed everyone's like lives. So the fight was off and I returned home. So I went home to South Africa for like a year. And then that just got me thinking. And I think that happened with a lot of people. I think COVID set us back, but it made us think a little bit deeper. So I started doing a bit of photography and I started writing, but I never started writing about boxing until I got back to Thailand post COVID. I came back to Thailand like post COVID and I never really knew what I was going to do in this country. But at the time, my wife, who also lives in Thailand, um, she had a job here, and I went to visit my old coach and manager at the time it was Sasakul Gym, and he was asking me if I wanted to fight, and I wasn't really interested in fighting, so he offered me to come and help him train his boxers because I lived out of his gym for a long time. So that's how I ended up taking the training path. But at the same time, I was photographing the fighters and documenting the life in it was at the time it was Patuntani. And I reached out to a few publications and I just kept getting rejected. And the last one was with the Ring magazine. I sent an email to the editor-in-chief, Doug Fisher. Shout out to Doug Fisher for the opportunity. And he got back to me and he was interested in using me as a correspondent out of Thailand. So that's how I started reporting ringside. That was around probably 3 or 4 years ago. and that slowly took off.
And then also with that, I mean, you were working at Elite Elite Fight Club in Bangkok as a trainer as well. So you have a small pool of fighters, professional fighters that you look after. And then I remember I mean, we've spoken before. You do some matchmaking as well. So can you tell us about what it takes to take care of fighters?
So I learned a lot about matchmaking actually when I was out at Sasakul gym, because
Mm,
that gym is where all the guys from the CP boxing stable base themselves out of. So I learned a lot from people at that gym. And when I left Sasakul, I moved to Elite, and I slowly started my own pro stable out of Elite. So matchmaking with fighters, it's very delicate. You have to do it in the right way. So in boxing, I see it's a little bit different than Muay Thai, because Muay Thai, it's like you get to your regional circuits, like as I see on you, how you've discussed all the time, like in Chiang Mai, Phuket, there's different levels in different provinces, and there's
mm,
ways to get to the top. But in Muay Thai, losses don't really matter from what I see. It's mostly about fighting with heart and fighting good and getting development. So fighting often and developing as we go.
mm,
I think with boxing, it has to work a different way, because boxing, as with Muay Thai, boxing is about business, right?
mm, mm,
So promoters, the new way of developing fighters is trying to keep guys undefeated till they're like 10 and 0, 20 and 0, depending what they want to do. So you might have a guy that's 20 and 0, but if you look at their record, it's very carefully matched.
mm,
But the downfall of that is you might give a boxer a false sense of understanding, because they might be 20 and 0, but the moment you give them a live opponent, there's trouble. So I believe it needs to be done very delicate, where you're not just growing a brand or in a person and a boxer, but you're also developing them as they go.
mm.
So people do it differently. Like there's different countries do it differently. Thailand does it in an interesting way. So you'll see boxers having the end. It's the same in Muay Thai. You'll have like guys with like knockout CPF or Sri Saket Saw, Nakolong Gym. It's all the sponsor's name or the gym name.
Mm,
It's the guys that are investing into the sport, into the boxes. So the promoters try to get the boxes out every month. So the visibility of the brand is on TV all the time. That can be good, because bo activity is very important in boxing as well as Muay Thai. But another thing is, because they're fighting so often, the level of opponents can't be at a great level at every fight.
mm.
So there's an up and down to matchmaking in Thailand in terms of boxing. But that's just how boxing works. Development works. Development's a very tricky topic, but you just have to do it in the right way. And I think the most important thing is, I keep saying it, is getting a fighter technically better with great development.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems to be a lot more curated in the sense of developing fighters and taking them a particular path than in Muay Thai. You know, it's really not about your record, but who you fought in a sense, and that's how you get up onto the bigger promotions. Now, and I think one of the other big differences is the commercial sponsorship that boxing has internationally rather than Muay Thai, because Muay Thai is, as we both know, very Thai centered. And I think, yes, we're seeing globalization of it, but I think that is one thing that could perhaps still make it insular is the Thai-ness of it. Um, what do you think about the current state of boxing internationally?
So, to be honest, I think it's getting better
Mm,
in terms of matchups. You've seen some really good matchups that are currently happening, where a few years ago they wouldn't fight each other. They'll wait for a different timing. They'll wait it was all about timing. Whereas now the money's good.
mm,
With with the boxing in Saudi and Riyadh season, the money is really good, so guys are willing to fight. Like this weekend, we have Hamza Shiras and Edgar Belanga. Like that's on Saturday or Sunday. That's a really good fight. We had Ryan Garcia and Javonte Davis. That was like last year. That was a good fight. Then you had like Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Guys are willing to fight each other now
Mm,
because the money is good. So I think like a few years ago it was in a bit of a slump, but boxing's coming back, and it's not just abroad, it's also here. I think it's good because now fighters aren't as scared to lose their zero, because if they lose their zero, as long as they're at least getting paid for it.
mm. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think Muay Thai, just the industry as a whole, can learn a lot from boxing. I mean, similar thing, like pre-COVID went through a slump, and then basically we had to all reimagine the skeleton of the industry, really. And now it's expanding, but we're still running into a few problems. What do you think Muay Thai can learn from boxing's revival that we're starting to see now?
To be honest, I think we can talk about this the other way. I think it's actually what boxing can learn from Muay Thai at
Mm,
this stage. Like, I'll tell you why. I think it was 3 weeks ago, I attended my first One Lupini fight night,
mm,
and I was impressed. Like, fights were good, production was excellent. It was a good evening. And I think that's what boxing in Thailand now can learn from Muay Thai, is not just putting up the fights on TV with just anybody, make exciting matchups, co-promote with other promoters. I actually had a talk to a promoter recently, and I just asked him, I was like, why don't you guys co-promote together and make a domestic clash, like two high-level ties in the same weight class in boxing, put them together, advertise it, make a rematch clause. Styles make fights.
mm.
And I think in terms of this question here, I think actually boxing can learn a lot from Muay Thai at right now. I attended as well the Rajadamnern knockout series,
Yep, yep, yep.
RWS, and one championship, and it's completely changed. And I think
Mm.
boxing can learn a lot. Boxing in Thailand can learn a lot from Muay Thai.
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting now because I mean the discussion is now as we obviously we have traditional Muay Thai, which is the 5 round gambling Muay Thai, and then what we consider entertainment Muay Thai, which is basically just Muay Thai but in the new era with high production value, televised events, high streamed events, high retention rate. Um, and really like my knowledge of boxing, Western boxing in Thailand is pretty much zilch. But I've been to a few events, uh, and that's where we actually met, and the production values tends to be a bit low, and it tends to be a bit more local centric. You have a very strong, tightly knit community that all know each other, but it tends to be very kind of grassroots based. Would I be accurate in assessing it that way?
So there's different tiers, right? So
Mm,
how I've seen it work is you have the TV time slots, which usually the CP guys have. That's on a Wednesday at Rangsit Stadium.
hmm
So the production will be really good because it's a TV time show. But I sort of see it as just as a TV time show, not really a place where a crowd comes and watches the show, but it's
mm,
more for TV. Then you have NKL promotion. They're out of the Bazaar in Bangkok. It's similar. It's more for TV. But this country has become the place now to come for foreigners to come and build their records and get their
mm,
box recs going, because box recs the database, right? And if you're a boxer looking to get to 10-0, as you know, it's a bit different to Muay Thai, because if you don't have a promoter or a manager, you're funding the fights yourself, because the promoters here don't really or need you on their shows. So you
mm,
have a few tiers of shows. You have guys that are coming here to fight ties for like good titles, or you have the guys that are trying to build up their records, get to like 10-0. Some of them wanted the development way, some of them don't. Because it's cheaper to do it in Thailand than do it back home if you don't have a promoter or a manager.
Mm,
So there's different tiers, I call them. So we have like the real grassroots shows, which some of them take place in gyms. It's just for guys to come and get a win, just for box rec. Then you have the shows with a good production, but it's sort of the same thing. You might fight like a journeyman, but a guy that's going to give you rounds. That's on a good show, so you can show your sponsors, the guys that are covering your fights. And then you have the last tiers, whereas you're coming to Thailand to fight a good champion or a good fight, where you're getting paid for these fights. It's usually the guys in the world rankings, the WBC Asia rankings, the WBA Asia rankings. They're called in to fight. So it's it's just different tiers, different levels
mm.
and experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean that's what I've noticed at the shows is that a lot of foreigners are coming over to improve their records and as you said on box rec. But one of the other things I notice is the difference in fan and demographic between Muay Thai and boxing. I mean, like obviously here in Thailand, like it's the national sport. You've got the uh, the gamblers, which have been a massive part of Muay Thai culture for so long. But if you think about internationally, from what you've seen, perhaps like your time at Rajadamnern or when you went to One Lumpini, do you find that boxing and Muay Thai fans are a different type of fan or a different type of demographic?
So the biggest thing is atmosphere. Like Muay
Mm,
Thai really brings the atmosphere and you can feel it. But I've seen shows before, like pre-COVID, when there were big world title fights. And
mm,
if you look at champions like Pong Saklek, um, defended his title 19 times, fought abroad. If you look at guys like this year, when they used to fight, or Kaosai Galaxy, when they used to fight, if you look at the TV recordings, and people I talk to, boxing is not the same as before. They used to be hardcore fans. You'll just
mm,
see like grounds, open air grounds, just full of people. They used to have really hardcore fans, but recently when I talk to trainers and I talk to Chachai Sasagul, former WBC champion, he says it's changed a lot. He says when he takes fighters now to fight, the crowds are smaller at the boxing events. It's not like how it was before in terms of support.
mm,
So I do think there has been some sort of change as it's gone. But when I've attended the Muay Thai fights, the thing that really gets me is the atmosphere.
mm.
Uh, it just hits a little bit different. It just hits a little bit different.
Yeah, I suppose I mean, there's a few reasons for that. I mean, it's growing popularity. Those specific events that you've been to are very entertainment focused. So the rule sets change, 3 round Muay Thai, the push for forward aggression. So, you tend to get a lot of knockouts and um, sort of things that look good for Instagram reels, that sort of thing. Now, just talking about fighter development, going back to this idea of fighter development, one big thing that we often talk about, especially for contemporary athletes or athletes coming into the sport now, is how important social media as a role plays for fighter development. So, self promotion. Do you think it's important in boxing, or do you think that there's enough media outlets to cover boxers, or do you think that boxers coming into the sport should actually invest in themselves a little bit?
I think they should learn how to invest in themselves and learn how to properly do social media.
Mm,
Because um, as I was discussing, like if you don't have a manager or promoter back home, so basically like in Australia or in the UK, when you're building your records without a manager or promoter, you're selling tickets, right?
mm,
So those tickets are funding your whole first 10 fights until you get picked up by a manager, a sponsor. So when you sell tickets, you're basically covering your opponent, your 10% fee for your trainer, and the rest of the money goes to you. Some of it goes to the promoter, and the last goes to, so you're basically fighting for free. To
mm,
so my thinking is get on social media, learn how to properly do social media, because I think it can help in terms of sponsorships, help. It's a good way, but there's also a thing of fighters getting carried away on social media, and that's a different topic. So I think it's all about balance. It's all about
Mm.
balance, like having the right balance, like using it in a smart way or getting obsessed with it, which is a whole different ball game.
What about the scene here in Bangkok? Is the boxing scene here in Bangkok healthy at the moment?
Getting better. Like, it was really quiet the last few years,
Mm.
but I see better matchups happening. Like there was a really great matchup recently between Jackie Yotsanan, who's the son of former WBA featherweight world champion.
Mm.
Uh, he fought a Turkish boxer named Ege out of Pattaya, and it was for 10 rounds. I think it was a non-title. No, it was for the UBO title. And the boys really, really delivered. Like it was probably one of the best fights I've seen in a long time. And coming back to atmosphere, it
Mm.
had the crowd at the edge of the seats. Like everybody was up. It was something I haven't seen in a while. There was knockdowns, and eventually the Turkish boxer became a champion, and it ended up there's talks of a rematch, and this is what's happening. And actually, the Zone is coming to Thailand. They're gonna have four boxing shows a year. The first one being on the 30th of August.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard
And
rumors. I've heard rumors of this, so it's good to hear that
so,
that's
and
confirmed.
there's talks of this fight coming in as a rematch. These boys both ended up at the hospital after the fight. It
Mm.
was just one of those clashes, and it's a fight that I can't forget very easily. One of the best fights I've photographed. Um, they've there's a talks of these guys fighting again. So you see how the business works. It's getting back to where it was. So remember how we discussed about the shows of foreigners coming here and building
Mm.
their
Mm. Mm.
records.
Mm.
A show like The Zone, you can't have that. The fights have to be 50-50.
Mm.
So you're gonna have like six cards on that fight that are gonna be really good fights. And there's talks of a WBO female world title that's gonna be on the card as well. So I think this is gonna be good for Thailand. So you'll have a mix of the shows guys come here to build their records, but you're also gonna have shows where people are gonna come and bring it.
Mm.
So I think that's good. I think that's gonna be great for boxing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I mean the few boxing shows that I've been to here really punch into that idea where really you see like foreigners coming over to pad their records and they'll go up against Somchai who's you know off off paper has probably had 60 fights but is a bit of a can, and then
Yeah.
bringing it back to the old style where matchups are 50-50 for me as a fight fan, and I really love watching high level boxing, but sometimes if I go to a boxing show and I've got to watch some foreigner from Australia just walk over this can, it's like, oh really, like we really back to that. Do you think there's room for crossover of athletes between boxing and Muay Thai?
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a good topic to talk about because most
Mm,
of the boxers I've worked with in the past, they all come from Muay Thai. And
mm,
it's very interesting to see how actually promoters pick them. Because you would think they would pick the boxers from a Muay Mat style or like a punch style.
mm,
But actually it's the opposite. They usually pick the more technical fighters because and I asked them this and they're like, we were talking about this, and it's if you fought in Muay Thai with the punch style, you could probably taken a lot of damage.
mm,
And if you take a technical fighter and bring them over, it's quicker for them to learn.
mm,
It's quicker for them to learn. If you look at all the boxers, there's a lot of crossover happening. Um, Basically, if you look at former WBA champion knockout CPF,
mm,
he was a minimum weight champion in Muay Thai, a Thailand champion, I think Lumpini Stadium champion. If you look at former WBC minimum weight champion, One Heng Minayoten, he cleaned out Muay Thai at the small weights and he went to boxing and cleaned out boxing. So crossover is happening.
Mm,
they don't really, from what I see, they don't really take boxers from the amateur system. I think
mm,
because if you're a really high level amateur, I think you get taken care of when your career is over. So the guys don't want to cross over into professional boxing. So most of the boxers are coming from Muay Thai, but it's interesting to see how they get scouted because it's not really the punch styles that are coming in, it's more the
mm.
technical guys that are coming into the sport. In terms of foreigners, I haven't seen too many guys that fight both sports at the moment down here because most of the foreigners are more in, they're either deeply rooted into Muay Thai. But I think in Australia there's been a few like John Wayne Parr and stuff like that. They've both fought
Yeah,
two styles.
most recently, Rocky Ogden, who's
Oh yes,
training
yes, 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 yes.
Rocky Ogden, who's training over at NTG. So yeah, I think he had about 70 Muay Thai fights and then made the seems to be doing pretty well professionally in boxing. Well, I don't follow Australian boxing too much, but I think the natural transition was to follow the money because the money, from what I've heard, is quite good in Australian boxing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes sense because really, at the end of the day, Muay Thai pays peanuts in comparison to the big boxing fights.
But I don't think the transition's too hard to
Mm,
make. If you're a good if you're a fighter at a good level,
mm,
I think the transition's not that hard to make. Because I've seen it quite a few. It was actually with when I first started working as a trainer, Kumandoy was at Sasagul gym to get
mm,
because
mm,
he's actually fought, he's a boxing champion. He's the ABF featherweight or bantamweight champion. And he transitioned pretty easily into Western boxing. And as we've seen recently, he's back now to RWS.
mm,
So, but these guys, the thing is, they know how to fight.
mm,
They know how to fight. They're at a really good level. So they know how to adjust. They know how to listen. They know how to take advice. So I think once you're a good level fighter and you're open to learn, the transition is not that easy. So not that difficult. Because
mm.
if you look at basically all the other champions that have transitioned, they've all come from Muay Thai. Another one is Samad Payakarun, really great,
Yeah, that was
legendary
first name I
uh,
thought of when
Muay
you.
Thai. Yeah, legendary Muay Thai fighter, technical fighter, became a really good boxer,
Mm,
became a world champion. You know, and that's another thing is like becoming a world champion in boxing. It's very difficult.
mm,
And these guys are coming from they've been champions in Muay Thai. They transition to boxing and they become champions in boxing. And of course, it's smart management, but it's also you have to be open-minded and willing to learn to become
mm,
a champion in two different sports. It's I think after I fought, I before I fought, I never thought anything about it. But when I started with my own fight career, you only start appreciating it after, and you're like, these guys are really good.
mm,
Like hats off to
mm.
them.
Yeah, and also, the psychology behind it as well. Um, but we'll have to wrap it up in a meeting in a moment because obviously I'm too cheap to afford Zoom Pro. But what I would like to talk about for the next kind of 5 minutes is what experiences or challenges you've had as a matchmaker. Because I think that's something that a lot of fans really underappreciate is the challenges that matchmakers go through. Can you tell us some of the biggest challenges?
So the biggest challenge is matchmaking is stressful,
Mm,
but it's also I really like putting on fights. It's nice to put on fights that make sense. But there's a big problem of making fights and confirming them, and like a week out or 2 weeks or even a day out, people call and cancel
mm,
because that puts as much as it puts me on pressure, it puts everyone on pressure. You have an opponent that's been through a training camp. A matchmaker has fines to pay if someone pulls out. So that's one of the most frustrating things. And I always tell, unless it's like something to do with your health, like you're never gonna have a perfect training camp.
mm,
Something's gonna go wrong. I listened to one of a fighter, I'm not sure who it was, saying like you can cut your fingernails too short the day of the fight, and that's gonna be bugging you in the fight the whole time.
mm.
So that's one of the most difficult challenges. Another one is actually matching fights up because not everybody wants a tough fight. So it's actually, if there's a tough fight offered, sometimes I tell fighters like, this is a 50-50 fight, or maybe the other guy has an advantage and maybe he's a former world champion. But this is your chance. Maybe you won't win this fight, but this is your chance to show that you belong. It puts you on
Mm,
the map.
mm,
Sometimes there's risks that personally for me as a trainer and a matchmaker with my guys, I don't want them to keep their zero the whole time. If they do, great for them, but there's only so much you can baby a boxer.
mm,
And all my guys at the gym right now that have been with me have taken losses because there comes a time where you have to test them. And maybe they don't pass the test, maybe the test was too hard, but you have to see where they stand. You have to know if we continue or we take them back a level. It shows weaknesses. Whereas
mm,
if we get a guy that's 20 and 0, but's just been fighting tomato cans the whole time, when he gets a little bit of a live opponent, we have a problem. So
mm,
I don't mind guys losing tough fights, but if they're losing to guys that are just not on their level, then we have a problem. Then we need to talk. But that's the thing with matchmaking is nobody really wants a tough fight now.
mm.
So I really enjoy the guys that like tough fights, that really go and put it all on the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People want to watch fighters fight.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we love about the sport, and we like beautiful violence in whatever form it is, whether it's MMA, whether it's boxing, whether it's Muay Thai. It's great to watch people hone their craft in and really slug it out. And for me, I think Muay Thai is a little bit different in terms of we'd like to see the 50-50 matches because you have the gambling involved, and that has curated the culture for so long as well. And I think now that we move into the entertainment era of it, we've still got that people want to watch a 50-50 slug out.
yeah, that's the thing. And I have a reputation. Like
Mm,
in Thailand, it's like Wasim puts his boys in tough fights. Yeah, because I want to see the guys develop.
mm,
I want to see the guys go further. Maybe their route to the top is going to be a bit different to somebody else, but it's good to have tests along the way.
mm,
I love to see a good fight. I
mm.
love to see a good fight. That's boxing.
Absolutely. And can you give any advice to whether it's boxing or Muay Thai fans, one piece of advice for a fighter coming to Thailand?
For a fighter coming to Thailand, I think the first thing is do your research. Do your research, pick a good gym, and I think the most important thing is listen to your coach. That's the most important thing. Because I see a lot of guys coming to Thailand and coming to gyms and making their own plans, and the coaches are part of their plans, but we know how to develop them and get them to the place they need to go
Mm,
or how to get them ready. It's not their job to get themselves ready. It's our job to get them ready. And if we do a bad job, it shows. But it's a big thing now of guys coming here, talk to your coach, communicate, tell them your goals. That's one of the biggest things I see now is like we're not really coaches anymore, but we're more like pad holders.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think that'll probably wrap it up. Wasim, thank you for your time, and it was great to pick your mind about the differences, the comparisons, also your journey with matchmaking and building fighters. You're doing a fantastic job in the world of boxing, rather than Muay Thai, but fantastic nonetheless. Thank you for coming on to Chok Muay Chats. This was episode 41. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And where can they find you, my friend? Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at WM Boxing. I'm most active on Instagram or that boxing guy.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.